Why is Africa poor? Is it corruption? Is it bad leadership? Or is it something far deeper, something buried in the roots of history, something the world has never wanted to confront? Africa, the land of gold, diamonds, oil, and fertile lands. A continent so rich in natural resources, its soil could nourish the world. Yet across media, it is often painted as a continent of famine, war, and poverty. But why? Why does a land so wealthy and potential remain burdened by poverty? Before colonialism, Africa wasn't a wilderness waiting to be saved. It was home to powerful empires: Mali, Songhai, Benin, Ethiopia. Cities like Timbuktu were global centers of learning and trade. Agricultural systems fed millions. Markets buzzed with commerce. Gold, spices, leather, cloth, and even perfume traveled along vast trade networks, from the Sahara to the Indian Ocean. There was poverty, as there is everywhere, but not the systemic deprivation we see today. Africa was not perfect, but it was sovereign. Then the Berlin Conference of 1884 happened. European powers, without a single African present, sliced Africa into pieces like a cake. Over 10,000 distinct ethnic groups were forced into artificial borders. Colonization was not just about land. It was about erasure. Colonial powers didn't come to develop Africa. They came to extract. They built railways not for Africans, but for rubber, cocoa, ivory, and gold. They taxed Africans heavily and forced them into labor. They dismantled local industries, banned traditional institutions, and replaced them with systems designed to benefit Europe. Education was limited. Only a small elite was taught to obey. Entire generations were robbed of knowledge, of memory, of self-determination. When African countries began to gain independence in the 1950s and 60s, the dream was freedom. But the colonial systems had left a poisoned legacy. Economies dependent on a single export. Borders that divided tribes and lumped enemies together. A ruling class trained in colonial obedience, not governance. And worse, Europe didn't let go easily. Former colonizers installed puppet governments. When Africans elected leaders who challenged Western interests, like Patrice Lumumba, they were assassinated or overthrown. Neocolonialism replaced colonialism. In the decades after independence, African nations, many still rebuilding, were offered loans by Western powers and global financial institutions. But these loans came with strings. Cut public spending. Privatize basic services. Open markets to foreign goods. These structural adjustment programs led to mass unemployment, weakened education and healthcare systems, and deepened poverty. And the interest? Crippling. Some countries pay more in debt interest than they spend on education and health combined. Africa is rich, but often in the worst way. Oil, diamonds, and minerals draw not development but exploitation. Multinational corporations strike deals that benefit foreign shareholders, not local people. In Nigeria's Niger Delta, billions in oil flow out, but communities live in polluted poverty. Yes, African corruption exists, but much of it is linked to global systems. Western banks hide stolen African wealth. Arms manufacturers sell weapons to warlords. Elites are groomed by foreign powers to serve outside interests. And yet, when the world speaks of Africa's poverty, it rarely mentions these truths. Africa loses more in illicit financial flows than it receives in aid. Tax evasion, illegal mining, smuggling, often done with the help of international networks, drain the continent. It is not aid that sustains Africa. Africa subsidizes the world. But this is not the end of the story. Across the continent, young Africans are rising. Tech hubs in Lagos, green innovation in Rwanda, Pan-African thinkers, creators, builders, and leaders. The future of Africa is not poverty. The future is in remembering the past, reclaiming agency, and rebuilding with the wisdom of ancestors and the tools of today. So, why is Africa poor? The answer is complex, but it is not because Africans are lazy. It is not because Africa lacks resources. It is not because of fate. It is because of history, interrupted, manipulated, and still unfolding. But that history is being rewritten by Africans themselves. Africa is not poor. Africa is waking up. If this history moved you, if you want more stories like this, stories that challenge the narrative, subscribe. Share. Let the world hear the truth. Africa is not what they told you. Africa is more.